Braised pork in troubled times. Chapter 1. The fighting spirit is not extinguished. During the spring and autumn period, the country was ruined, and the heroes competed for the deer. The princes were divided and fought for power inside and outside the court, but the last city, called Lowes, was a small frontier with no masters or wealth, only deceitful streets and dilapidated cottages. In one of the alleys of Lowes, there was an ordinary family from a poor family. The only property of this family is not gold, silver, and jewelry, nor land, but a little dirt-faced dog named Chow Yeze. Not only does this dog eat a lot, but it is also notorious, thin, and staggering, and is the only source of meat in the family, not because it is particularly precious, but because after each meal, he always brings a little broth as a daily satiety for the family and the protagonist. The protagonist's name is Tu Yingcheng, whose name is Yepi, and he is the identity of an unknown official in the Luz area. He is about 30 years old, with a mediocre appearance, a sallow complexion, but there is always a trace of sharpness in his eyes that is difficult to hide. He came from a poor family with 4 walls, and there was not even a house where he could live in peace. All he could rely on was the little earth dog named Chow Yeze and his unyielding heart. Tu Yingcheng buries his head in the court every day to do some unknown chores, actively or passively participating in the struggle of small officialdom. However, he had already made up his mind that no matter how poor he was, he would stand in this troubled world until he made a difference. However, everything changed when one day, a mysterious messenger from the frontier came to Lowes, bringing a piece of news related to it. To Yepi, it is destined that you will change this chaos. Chapter 2, The Nightcrawler's Prophecy. When night fell, Tu Yingcheng sat in the humble study as usual, flipping through the pages of inconsequential books in his hands. Moonlight poured in through the broken windows, the air was dull and the lights were faint. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Tu Yingcheng was slightly startled, gently put down the scroll in his hand, and walked towards the door with light steps. Outside the door stood a mysterious man in a black robe, his face expressionless, his eyes revealing a deep aura. Tu Yingcheng, he was destined to do something great back then, no matter life or death. Tonight, you must listen to me. The man's tone was cold, and there was a toughness in his tone that could not be denied. Tu Yingcheng's eyes flickered, and he was suspicious of this sudden stranger. However, there was a faint impulse in his heart, as if he had already sensed that some major event was approaching. Who are you? Why are you here? Tu Yingcheng asked with raised eyebrows. I'm from the northern frontier, and I've met a soothsayer, and my master told me that there will be a man named Tu Yingcheng in this land, who will change the dispute between the princes and turn things around. The mysterious man's eyes were deep, and his tone was a little mysterious and prophetic. Tu Yingcheng was silent for a long time, his heart in turmoil. Is this really my fate? At this moment, Chow Yeze suddenly ran out of the house and let out a loud dog bark. The mysterious man frowned, looked at the little earth dog, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, and then disappeared again. This dog, he whispered. Tu Yingcheng was shocked in his heart, and couldn't help asking, what's wrong with this dog? It's no accident that this dog, something extraordinary, will be your favor. The mysterious man's tone was still deep. Chapter 3 Vientiane flipped. The next day, Tu Yingcheng's life did not change much. The work of the government is still tedious and laborious. It's just that on this day, when he passed by the market, he overheard a news about the spring and autumn championship. I heard that the royal family of the Jin kingdom is about to fall, and a new leader will rise. An old man talks on a street corner. Tu Yingcheng stopped slightly, and a hint of coolness flashed in his heart. Could this be the turning of the wheel of fate? On this day, he learned a secret about the royal power from an unexpected place. The mysterious man's words made Tu Yingcheng start to think about his connection to this dispute. His name may not be simple. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis hit. His heart was beating rapidly, and his gaze fell on Chow Yeze in the distance. Will this humble earth dog be the only key to his future? Fate may really change because of a dog. Tu Yingcheng muttered to himself, his heart surging. Chapter 4, Diners and Rivals. One day, Tu Yingcheng returned home and was about to eat when he suddenly heard shouts outside the door. It turned out that the people outside the city of Lowes had come to ask for help, saying that the food in the city had dried up. Tu Yingcheng decided to lead a team of soldiers to the nearby granary to purchase supplies, and by the way, to see if he could find a favorable partner. On his way, he discovers a strange change. It turns out that among these people, there are many hermits with extraordinary skills, and their backgrounds should not be underestimated. Tu Yingcheng can feel more and more the weight from history, and he is also standing at the center of this storm. What is the real intention behind food, money, fame, and fortune? Tu Yingcheng thought to himself. And is his ultimate goal just to survive? Or for the sake of those truths, which he never expected? Chapter 5, The Covenant of Attack. After Tu Yingcheng returned to Luozi, his heart still couldn't be calm. He couldn't suppress his curiosity about his fate and his doubts about his role. The wheel of fortune seems to be quietly running, and all he can do is choose to go with the storm or rebel against it. Perhaps, this is a secret arrangement. Tu Yingcheng stood in the dilapidated courtyard, looking at Chao Yezi in front of him, and some indescribable thoughts gradually emerged in his heart. At this time, the news from the other side made it impossible for him to ignore his situation anymore. The strife in the Great Jin Kingdom is becoming increasingly fierce, and if you want to live a better life, you may have to choose one side to gain a foothold. So, he decided to go to the Jin Kingdom in person to contact the local forces. On that day, Tu Yingcheng followed the guidance of the mysterious man and came to a small city hundreds of miles away from Luoz, called Qishan. Tucked away in the mountains, Qishan is a gathering place of neutral forces, where chambers of commerce and hermits have interacted with each other for hundreds of years. Information and resources have flowed here, and power struggles have been raging. Tu Yingcheng did not tell anyone his true identity, but assumed the pseudonym Tu Yuchen in order to make contact with a local warlord in Qishan. This warlord's name is Ji Suning, and when you hear his name, you know that the power behind him should not be underestimated. This meeting will be the first step for Tu Yingcheng to change his fate. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6 Undercurrents. Ji Suning, the Lord of Qishan, was tall and calm, but he was full of a strong sense of coercion. When Tu Yingcheng sat down with him, the atmosphere suddenly froze. Tu Yuchen, you should be here for this war that is about to break out, right? Ji Suning raised his head slightly, his eyes flashing with unique insight. Tu Yingcheng didn't answer immediately, but smiled slightly. This war can't be avoided no matter what. It's just a question of who can stand on the ultimate peak, and who can be swallowed up by this storm. Ji Suning's eyes were deep, and he seemed to be able to see through the calculations in Tu Yingcheng's heart. He bowed his head and said, "You're right, the situation is changing rapidly, and even if we try, we can't fully control every variable. But if you are here, should you also be prepared to have your own strength?" Strength? I'm not here to seek refuge. Tu Yingcheng looked directly into Ji Suning's eyes. I'm here to find an ally who can help me achieve my goals. Ji Suning frowned slightly, a hint of alertness flashed in his eyes, but then, he sneered, "So, let's hear it, what is your goal?" Tu Yingcheng was silent for a moment, his tone calm and decisive. "I want to be the master of this land." Ji Suning couldn't help but smile, with both surprise and recognition in his heart. He understood that Tu Yingcheng was not an ordinary nameless official. This person had ambitions and abilities that were far from being simple on the surface. So, he nodded slightly and motioned for Tu Yingcheng to continue. "I know that you have a powerful force behind you, and if I can form an alliance with you, I may be able to change the situation." Tu Yingcheng changed his words and showed a hint of a smile. "However, I also know that this is not just a simple cooperation. I need more strength, more resources. Can you give me these?" Ji Suning said indifferently, "There is great ambition in your words, but this is what I admire." He took a deep breath and his tone became more subdued. "If you can prove your strength, maybe I will consider handing over some of my resources to you." Tu Yingcheng's heart moved slightly. This was exactly the answer he was expecting. The meaning contained in Ji Suning's words made him understand that his future path would be more tortuous, but every choice would change the path he was going to take. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 7 Encroachment on Whale Swallowing. After returning to Luozi, Tu Yingcheng did not rush to publicize the agreement he had reached with Ji Suning to the outside world, but began to secretly accumulate strength. Every time he walks on the streets of the city, he can always see those hungry and cold people, especially the little earth dog Chao Yeze, which is still his only source of meat, which will bring him a little warm comfort from time to time. However, Tu Yingcheng knew that the future of this land could no longer accommodate him as an unknown person. With the decline of the Jin royal family, if he doesn't make a choice, his life may stay forever on this small frontier. At this time, the news came that the throne of the Jin kingdom was about to be usurped, and an unprecedented power struggle was about to begin. Tu Yingcheng couldn't wait. He decided to take everything down, and saw the strife in the Jin kingdom as his chance. He made a more far-reaching suggestion to Ji Suning's plan. cannibalize the whale swallow. In this battle, Tu Yingchen's goal is no longer to simply survive, but to shake the entire power structure and take the real initiative in his own destiny. I will lead this war. Tu Yingchen whispered, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Chapter 8 Chess in the palm of your hand. With the turmoil of the Jin Kingdom, Tu Yingchen's plan gradually took shape. He knows that this power game is far more complex than it seems. Every choice can be fatal, and every move is a matter of life and death. His cooperation with Ji Suning gradually deepened. Tu Yingchen began to contact various forces in Kishan to seek support. Some of these forces came from aristocratic families, while others were wise men who hid behind the scenes. Their ability lies not in military strength, but in the gathering of intelligence and the use of strategy. Tu Yingchen's resourcefulness gradually revealed. He knew that if he wanted to emerge from this chaos, he had to first find his footing. And this foothold is to master all the intelligence and resources, choose the most advantageous allies from them, and give full play to their unique advantages at critical moments. There's no need to rush to show your strength to the outside world. Tu Yingchen told himself, the most important thing now is to wait for the opportunity and strategize. And this waiting time has finally come. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9 Golden Opportunity. One day, Tu Yingchen received a mysterious letter. The letter did not mention a specific identity, but simply wrote, "Tonight, at the west gate outside the city, there will be an unexpected golden opportunity." Tu Yingchen was shocked. Such a letter was not an ordinary secret letter, and the forces behind it must not be underestimated. He didn't think much of it and immediately decided to go himself. That night, he put on civilian clothes, quietly left the house, and walked towards the west gate. The moonlight was like water, reflecting the dilapidated streets, and Tu Yingchen's steps were brisk and steady. He came near the west gate and saw a man in a black robe, standing in a shadow, waiting. When the man saw Tu Yingchen coming, he smiled slightly and motioned for him to come over. Tu Yingchen stepped forward, and the two sides looked at each other, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little solemn. "You're Tu Yingchen." The man spoke, his voice low and powerful. Tu Yingchen didn't answer, just nodded slightly. "Good." A hint of approval flashed in the man's eyes. "In that case, then we can talk about how to work together." A trace of vigilance flashed in Tu Yingchen's heart. This man was obviously not an ordinary person, and an unfathomable aura revealed in his eyes made him faintly feel threatened. However, he understands that in such troubled times, if you want to make a difference, you must be in the company of the strong. Cooperation. Tu Yingchen asked calmly, "Who are you? Why work with me?" The man smiled slightly, his tone calm but full of threat. "I am the messenger of the Moyin Palace, and I have a powerful force behind me. If you are willing to join us, we can fight for that throne together. If you don't want to, then you may become our enemy." Moyin Palace, this is a secret organization. It is rumored that its power spreads throughout the spring and autumn period, and controls countless resources and intelligence. Tu Yingchen had heard of this name, but he had never come into contact with it. At this moment, he finally understood that the chess game he was in was far more complicated than he imagined. "I can join you, but only if I control some of the power." Tu Yingchen did not hesitate to put forward his request. The envoy of the Moyin Palace seemed to have anticipated Tu Yingchen's answer, and a sneer flashed in his eyes. "This is your smartest choice, Tu Yingchen." As a result, Tu Yingchen reached a preliminary agreement with the Moyin Palace and began to further contact their internal network. He realizes that his destiny can no longer be controlled by himself, and that every step is destined to depend on the strength of others. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 10, The Game of Power. After joining the Moyin Palace, Tu Yingchen quickly integrated into this powerful organization. Not only did he receive a lot of resources, but he also learned how to use intelligence and strategy to control the situation. His wisdom and decisiveness allowed him to rise rapidly in the Moyin Palace and become the focus of attention. However, Tu Yingchen did not let his guard down because of this. He is well aware that in such an environment, no one can be fully trusted. Even the interior of the Moyin Palace is full of deceitful struggles, and every move can trigger a catastrophe. One day, he received a letter from a mysterious messenger, the content of which was simple and clear: "The battle for the throne of Jin will change greatly. Are you ready?" Tu Yingchen's heart was shocked. He understood that this game was about to enter the final stage, and the battle for the throne was about to reach a climax. He took a deep breath, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. No matter what the storm is, he is no longer the nameless little official. No matter how difficult it is, he will also break through the layers of fog in this battle for hegemony and stand at the top. Chapter 11, The Flames of War Rekindled. As the situation developed, Tu Yingchen's cooperation with Moyin Palace became closer and closer. They secretly controlled the disputes of the Jin royal family and drew all forces one by one. Tu Yingchen's goal gradually became clear. He was no longer satisfied with being just the controller of the throne, he wanted to become the only master. However, just as he was about to strike the final blow, an unexpected turn of events happened. The high-level officials inside the Moyin Palace felt threatened by Tu Yingchen's ambitions and began to encircle and suppress him. Betrayal. Tu Yingchen sneered, this Game of Thrones was already destined to end in this way. He did not flinch, but was more decisive. Tu Yingchen decided to control the entire battle situation with one hand, wipe out all the enemies, and make himself the only winner.